Everybody, and welcome back to the Fight Day MMA podcast. I am your host, Kayla Nero, and today we're going to be talking and discussing the results from UFC 251 that happened this past weekend, Saturday, July 11th. Where the main event was Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal. Man, did UFC 251 deliver? There were many great fights and a lot of surprising outcomes throughout the night, and I feel that there was some bad judging involved in a few of the fights, but we will discuss that whenever we get to the fights. As I posted earlier in the Facebook group, guys, with me working full-time, it's going to be a little bit harder for me in order to be able to run all the different social medias and be able to post videos everywhere, such as YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and stuff like that. So what we plan on doing is me and Kanan, Kanan's working and has a few things going on this week, so he wasn't able to kind of get started with the first two podcasts with me. But from here on out, Kanan's going to be really involved with the Twitter, as well as the Facebook group, and hopefully we're going to be able to figure something out to where we can have Skype calls in, and also we're going to try and set something out. We're getting better with the technology every day as we learn. Obviously, this is only our second show, but what we're going to try and do is be able to where we can have maybe some statistics and stuff up on the screen as well, in the video recording and stuff like that, where we can do different scenes and stuff like that to where we can have different things. Also, we're looking into potentially like maybe getting an intro song done by one of my fraternity brothers and stuff like that. So just cool things coming, trying to make the show better, trying to make the content better, really trying to make it more enjoyable for everybody who wants to come and join and be a part of our community and really have a good time talking fights and a good time learning maybe some new things from us and us learning new things from y'all. So yeah, so if you're here again, thanks for coming back. That means you somewhat enjoyed my last video discussing the pre-fight analysis of the fights. So yeah, let's get to the hostilities, guys. So starting with the early prelims, our first fight of the night was Davy Grant versus Martin Day. And what a good way to open up Fight Island, right? This fight brought a lot of action, and it was definitely a surprise to me, especially the way that it was finished. Martin is a very good technical striker. He's from Hawaii. I think potentially he might have trained with Max Holloway a few times, and he obviously packed some punching power as he broke Davy Grant's jaw in the first round. And I thought that if the fight was going to play out on the feet, that Martin Day would definitely have the advantage. And I thought he would definitely win the fight, but Davy Grant really showed that he's a lot more than just the submission expert that we thought he was. I did pick Davey to win the fight. I thought Davey would have pulled him to the ground and kind of used his grappling advantage for the win, but that really wasn't the case. Davey just kind of stood in there in the pocket with Martin and really traded with him, and big knockout for Davy Grant. And congratulations to him. I can see him potentially moving up, maybe getting another unranked opponent again. But I think if he gets that win, he might end up seeing himself maybe get top 15 guy, like a lower level top 15 guy for him. So good for him. Good fight. Our next fight was Cara Rosa versus Vanessa Melo. This fight played out pretty much how I expected it to play out. Cara Rosa is a really, really skilled striker, and she's getting better every time she's out there. She's still relatively young, still relatively new to the sport, especially in the UFC. So I think she's going to surprise a lot of people in the coming months, if not years, and really show herself to be a good contender in that 135-pound division for the women's. She really played to her reach advantage really well against Vanessa Melo. Vanessa Melo's a really short, stocky woman. If you didn't watch the fight, the size of her legs were definitely intimidating for a woman of that size. She definitely could have ate a lot more leg kicks. She did a really good job of actually eating them from Caro as well throughout the fight. Still marched forward, tried to get inside. She really did try her best to win the fight, but that just goes to show you how mature and how well developed Caro's becoming. In just only 2 fights here in the UFC. She did a real good job using the inside leg kick. Cara Rosa did to really stop Melo from trying to advance and get inside on her. I would have liked to see her be a little bit more aggressive with the knees. Knees are always a good strategy for a shorter opponent. She busted her up for 3 rounds, but I would like to try and see maybe be a little bit more aggressive and get her out of there. She did show really good prowess in her ground game too. Both women were brown belts, but I think Cara really had the length and the strength advantage in that fight. Even though Melo really looked to be a strong woman, I feel Cara really took control of the fight everywhere it happened during the fight. So our next fight was Raulin Paiva versus Zalgas Zumagulov. It was a very good fight here. I feel both of these guys have a good future ahead of them in the UFC. Zalgas was in his UFC debut, so I'm pretty sure he had some UFC jitters, and I think that kind of contributed to a slow start in the fight. Rowling has a super large frame for flyweight. I mean, the kid's tall, he's long, he's really technical in his striking, especially his kicks. His kicks were good all night. He's kind of a lighter frame though for him being so long at that weight division. So it's cause for concern for guys coming in there and kind of bullying him around, throwing him around a little bit. Zalgas did a little bit of that throughout the fight, kind of grabbing the low ankle and just really pushing him on the shoulder and knocking him over. Maybe he just needs to work on his center of balance a little bit, maybe widen his stance potentially. Zalgas, like I said, I think he's just maybe a slow starter. He didn't do well early in the fight. He kind of tried to stay at a range with a long guy. I don't know if that was a coaching issue or maybe, like I said, I think it was just UFC jitters. I think he was just too not too afraid, but just nervous to go in there and get stopped quick in his first fight, And I think once he ate a few shots, he kind of realized that, hey, I can take these and I'll be able to get on the inside with him. And that's whenever in round 2 and 3 he really picked it up, and he almost brought it back. I thought it was a really close fight. I had Paiva winning the fight at the end of the fight, and that's who I originally picked. But Zalgas definitely showed that he had some heart in there, and showed that he wanted to get in there and really wanted to win the fight. And just a slow start really killed him. I'd like to see him use the clinch a little bit more. He definitely was a stronger guy. It showed a few times he actually got his hands on Paiva. If he'd used some dirty boxing inside and actually used some of his hands to work into his takedowns, there was a lot of times where he tried to strike with him and then he'd be on the outside and just shoot. I'd like to see him work off behind the jab and get in on his lower legs to get the takedown. Whenever he got in on the lower ankle and used the shoulder push, he was able to get Paiva down. Paiva was slippery though, kind of was able to get up, but if he'd have been able to get more inside and actually get his hands together, push him up against the fence, get his hands together and take him down, I think he'd have had a lot more success in the fight. All right, so the next fight we had was the last fight on the early prelims. It was Marcin Tybura versus Maxim Grishin, and I picked wrong on this one. Marcin Tybura ended up getting the win. I picked Maxim Grishin, the newcomer. He was on an incredible streak, only losing one, I think, in his last 21 fights. So there was a lot there that I saw potentially, and he had a decent fight resume for not being in the UFC. So I figured, even though he was a smaller guy, he would come in there and kind of use his speed advantage. Even though he was, like I said, the smaller guy, use his speed advantage and be able to kind of get out of the way of Marcin's forward pressure and really make Marcin pay for trying to go for the takedown at all times. It was disappointing for Maxim though, man. He seemed out of sorts in there, and he seemed like he really didn't want to engage with Tybura at all. He didn't circle well. There was a lot of times where Tybura would just kind of trap him off, kind of corner him off in the corner of the octagon, and with Grishin should have having the speed advantage because he's normally a light heavyweight, and he went up to heavyweight for this fight. I feel like he could have circled off a lot better and really played away from Marcin. He just kept backing himself up into the fence essentially, and if he'd have just circled off and tried to take the center of the octagon, it made it into a standing fight, even though he really didn't engage too much in the standing either. It was just a poor performance by Grishin, really. But I feel like if he'd have kept the center of the octagon and circled out, he wouldn't have been on his back or being taken down or in the clinch as nearly as much as he was. He was a smaller fighter by 30 pounds, so he did have he wasn't the stronger guy, even though he did show a lot of great strength with holding Tybura on his back in the third round and like holding him up with like one leg. It was crazy. He's definitely a strong guy, and he definitely deserved to be there, but there were some things that he did. I think he was just nervous. That's the only way I think I can explain it. The reach advantage was close. Marcin had the weight advantage, but Grishin had the speed advantage. I just feel like if he'd have stayed in the center of the octagon and actually let his shots go, he probably would have done a lot more. Been a lot more successful. He hurt Marcin with one shot in the fight, with one of the only ones that he really got off, and I feel like if he'd have continued that pattern, he definitely would have been more successful in that fight. So now onto the prelims, we have Leonardo Santos versus Roman Bogatov. And aren't you glad that fighters wear cups? I mean, I don't know if you guys watch this fight, but man, poor Leonardo Santos. I'm glad he's 40 years old because I don't know, or maybe he still have children at 40. I don't know. I don't know how people work these days, but I don't know if he'll be able to after this fight. I mean, Roman Bogatov could not stop hitting him in the sack. I mean, it was bad all night long. And eventually it came down to the first 2-point deduction that I've ever really seen in fighting. Mark Goddard was not having it. warmed him a bunch, and he was at his ends with that, and so he finally had a 2-point deduction against Bogatov, which ended up really securing the fight for Santos in the last round when he gassed super hard. But I mean, I guess if you get hit in the groin a few times in one round, you probably would be pretty gassed too, I would assume. Leonardo started the fight off, man, really strong though, man. He looked good for being a 40-year-old man. He's still undefeated. He's been in the UFC since 2013. He was a UFC Brazil 2 winner. It's a wonder why he hasn't fought too many top 15 opponents yet, or isn't in the top 15 for being on a 7-year unbeaten streak in the UFC. You'd think that he would be starting to work his way into contention, but I think he has just a lot of layoffs, man. He was a UFC, not UFC, sorry, a Jiu-Jitsu world champion for many years. So I feel that maybe this is kind of just a passion thing for him, and maybe he doesn't need it. But I would really like to see him start to compete against some of the top 15 guys, because I feel like he can really compete there and really show us what he's really about. You know, these younger guys coming in. Roman Bogatov really did look like a good prospect. He was undefeated whenever he came in to the UFC, and I mean, he put on a good fight. First round, second round. First round, it wasn't that great. Second round, towards the end of the second round, whenever Bogatov kept a good pressure, so he kind of wore out Leo, you know, throughout the fight. And I felt like Santos started to slow down, you know, towards the end of the second round, and that's when Bogatov really took over. He was kind of Khabib in his approach, where he was relentless for the takedown at the end. If he'd have been that way throughout the beginning of the fight, I feel like it'd have been a lot of different story. He possibly could have got the win over Leo. But he seemed a little hesitant, like every other newcomer so far that I've saw this point in the fight in the card. Obviously, we're going to talk about Yuri Proska later, and yeah, he definitely didn't look UFC jitter-wise, but I think Bogatov had a little bit of the jitters in the first round and really didn't stick to his game plan of trying to really secure the takedown. Had he have done so, I feel like he'd have been a lot more successful against Leo. However, he didn't get it done. He needs to pick his shots up, stop hitting people in the groins, work his actual techniques of taking people down, and I think he'd be more successful in his next fight. He's still young. He's still up and coming. I mean, he's still a prospect. Let's not count him out just yet. Leo's a really good fighter. But yeah, I mean, I think they both have a Leo, I don't know how much of a future he has left because of his age. I'd like to see him maybe fight a few top 15 guys before he retires. But who knows? And then Bogatov, he still has a bright future. I mean, kid's young. He's really good. Technical wrestler. He got really good strength. So yeah, he'll shake back. Our next fight we have Marquand Amirkhani versus Danny Henry. What can you say about Marquand? He's a problem in the grappling department, man. That dude looked special, man. Danny Henry looked sharp at the beginning of the fight. You know, his striking looked very technical. He looked like I believe he was coming off of an injury, and I believe that he looked really good coming off of that. You know, and he looked sharp. He looked tight. He looked like he was going to do well. And from the way Michael Bisping was talking about it, it sounded like Danny had been training his jiu-jitsu a lot to really deal with a guy who's judo and jiu-jitsu expert like Marquand. And yeah, it didn't work out for Danny Henry, sadly. I mean, Marquand got his hands on him, and it was at that point it was just about over. I mean, Marquand grabbed him, picked him up, put him on the ground, got him in an anaconda choke, and literally just put him to sleep. He took a nap. It was quick. Marquand is definitely going to be a prospect, man. He got the look. He got the walk. He can definitely fight. I think his fight against Shane Burgos, he really tried. The previous one when he lost, I think he really tried too hard for the takedown. Maybe he needs to work on his striking a little bit more, but I could see him fighting top 15, top 10 real soon for him. Yeah. Next on to the Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos versus Muslim Salikov fight. Man, was that a brawl. And I mean, I called it, man. I called it, man. I hit the nail right on the head. I said, man, watch out, man. This might be a sleeper fight of the night. It didn't win fight of the night because we had some good fights in the main card. But, man, this was a barn burner, man. This was a real good one. I thought this fight was actually a pretty big robbery, however, though. I mean, I felt that both men were very technical in their striking, and they both landed really good shots. And, you know, they both were doing some crazy stuff. One's Koi Para, one's Kung Fu. So they both like throw a lot of spinning, weird attacks from different weird angles that a lot of conventional strikers aren't used to. I felt Dos Santos landed the bigger shots, though. He rocked Muslim on multiple occasions where I didn't feel Muslim really hurt Dos Santos at any point in the fight. He was able to get these desperation takedowns on occasion, and I mean, these desperation takedowns really weren't weren't really anything of substance. I mean, he would get him down for like a half a second and he'd pop right back up. I mean, it was something that it was more like a desperation shot, like I don't want to get hit in the face anymore for a few seconds, so I'm going to take you down type of thing. I mean, those count, in the scoring, but I feel like they shouldn't count nearly as much as you hurting the guy, It was a very contested fight. Muslim did fight exceptionally well, and he did prove that he's a true fighter. And I mean, so is Dos Santos is known already with some of his big wins, like over Lyman Good and guys like that. That he's a scrapper, Like I said, I didn't think Muslim really did much to hurt Dos Santos, and those desperation takedowns really didn't do much for me to say that he was winning the fight, And I think MMA, we really have a judging problem, and I'm gonna touch base more on it with the Max Holloway Alexander Volkanovski fight, because I feel like that one's a little bit more important to talk about it with. But I feel that we need to have some experts there in the judging booth, But anyway, Muslim Slikov gets the win, but I feel like Dos Santos should have won that one, guys. So for our featured prelim, we had Volkan Ozdemir versus Yuri Proska. I think I'm pronouncing it right now. I took a little note from John Anik this weekend, but I could be pronouncing it wrong again. But man, this was a feature. This was a good one. So I thought the newcomer Yuri would be overwhelmed by his UFC jitters, just like everybody else had so far, and the fact that he was facing one of the hardest hitting light heavyweights in the division. And I mean, it was his UFC debut. I mean, Volkan has put to bed many a men. He hurts people every time he touches them, it seems like, so it's just, I didn't think Yuri would come in there and be able to handle that pressure, or to handle, like, not the pressure that Volkan puts on you per se, but the pressure of being in the UFC for the first time and having to fight a really skilled guy, but proved me wrong. I mean, big time. He's very confident. He made a lot of technical errors due to his showmanship. He likes to keep his hands down and kind of like to wobble his head around, smile at you, really make you try to get in your head is what it seemed like. But man, he put Volkan face down in the canvas. Volkan tasted some canvas that night, and man, it was crazy. Obviously, with his length and his style, everyone's gonna jump up and say, "Oh, this might be the guy. This is gonna be the guy." Everybody, pay attention. This could be the guy to beat John Jones. Like we just said that a few months ago about the big tall guy from Brazil. Can't think of his name at the moment. And everybody was like, "Oh yeah, he's gonna be the next one. He's knocking people out in 9 strikes." This guy comes in, he knocks out Volkan Ozdemir super quick, and he's long, 80-inch reach, something similar to John, who's at 83, I believe. So everyone's like, "Oh yeah, this is gonna be the guy." And let's not get ahead of ourselves yet, guys. I mean, we need to see his grappling capabilities first. Volkan did do well against Ilir Latifi in his wrestling, but he's not a grappling expert, and he also didn't even try Yuri's grappling. So let's not say anything too fast here yet, because I mean, John's the best. John's the best in that division. So you can't toy with John the way that he did with Volkan either. John will make him pay for that. John will kick him in the head. John will take him down. John will make him regret doing that. So I don't think he'll do that against John either. But anyway, I feel if Yuri gets a few more good fights in, maybe against like Corey Anderson, Johnny Walker is the big guy I was talking about earlier. Maybe even, I don't know, who's coming off of a loss recently? I don't know. Maybe just a few guys, maybe the top 10, top 5. Those guys. I think Glover and the Polish man knocked out Luke Rockhold. Can't think of his name. It'll come to me later. But I think those two should fight, and then that guy will fight John. Maybe Yuri will fight Anthony Smith or Thiago Santos. That'd be a good comeback fight for Thiago Santos off the injury. I think that would be a really good fight, and that would be a real good test for Yuri. And I mean, I think winner of that fight would be next slotted in for the title fight against John, or whoever the winner is out of John and the Glover Teixeira Polish guy. I can't remember his name, man. It's gonna really bother me, but you'd think I'm calling the sport. I should know the guy's name, right? So let me find it, and I'm gonna be mad at myself for not knowing it. Jan Blachowicz. I don't even have to look it up. So yeah, I think Glover Teixeira and Jan Blachowicz are gonna fight, and then from there it'll be that guy. The winner of that fight will fight John, and I think Yuri might have slotted himself in with a big win over a number 7 guy like that. to fight a Thiago Santos or an Anthony Smith, and winner of that fight gets a crack at John too. So yeah, sorry guys. I know I kind of got carried away on that one, but I think the light heavyweight division is starting to get a little interesting, and I like that. So finally, we get to the main card. So our first fight was Amanda Ribas versus Paige Van Zant. It went how I expected. I mean, Ribas is just she's really starting to find her form, and she's really getting on another level. I think Van Zant was just thrust into the spotlight way too early into her development as a fighter. And I think it's put a tremendous toll on her career. I mean, she's a beautiful girl, and she really is a good speaker. She's really likable. She's really fun, but she's a flashy fighter as well. She has some really cool karate kicks, really cool techniques, but just on the overall technical skill, I just don't think she's there yet. And I think that, like Dana White said, I think she does need to test out free agency, and I think from there, she'll have a better shot at potentially coming back and making a UFC title run. Ribas is much more skilled. She looks to be a real true problem for anyone in the strawweight and flyweight divisions. I think a couple more wins at flyweight, maybe even one more win over a decent flyweight contender. She's fighting Valentina. Strawweight, I don't know if she wants to keep making that cut because she doesn't really need to if she doesn't want to. She's big and strong at flyweight. But at strawweight, she can give problems too. She's 14 to strawweight right now, number 14. I feel a couple more wins in either division. She slotted in for a title in either division. And after she won her fight, she called out her fellow countrywoman Amanda Nunes. But I say let's take a pause on that real quick before you get your feelings hurt by the GOAT. I think if she can get in there and compete with Valentina, then she'll have a shot with Amanda. Obviously, she's gonna have to beat Valentina though, because I think Valentina is the only woman in the world that even has a chance of even messing with Amanda Nunes at this point in her career. So yeah, I mean, not much to talk about that one. Amanda Ribas really mopped the floor with Paige Van Zant. It was quick. It was easy. I mean, Paige Van Zant is a world-class fighter, but she just wasn't on Ribas' level that night. Our next fight, we had the Jessica Andrade versus Rose Namajunas fight. As expected, Rose came in exceptionally sharp and was able to control most of the fight on the feet, just like she normally does. She has really good footwork. She's really sharp. Pat Barry and Trevor Whitman do an amazing job with training Rose. And, I mean, she's really easy to coach. She doesn't really mess up much. She stays tight. She stays up. She keeps her hands up high. Doesn't like to eat a lot of shots. She gets out of the way. She's in and out really good. Kind of in the Conor McGregor, Max Holloway aspect there, where she's in, hits you, and then whenever you try to counter, she's not there to be hit with because her footwork is so good. I did have some concerns, however, for Rose towards the end of the fight. Andrade started the fight off slow, but she picked it up towards the end of the second round and into the third round. Started really busting Rose up. It got pretty bad in the third round. And look, I know it's a 3-fight contest. Rose won. Rose should probably fight for the title next against Weili Zhang, but I feel if this fight would have went to 4th and 5th round, I don't know if Rose would have won the fight, man. I honestly feel that if this fight would have went 4 and 5, Rose would have lost to Andrade. I think Andrade might have really either put her away or got her to the ground and choked her out. You know, I think, like I said, I think with the win, Rose deserves a title shot. But don't count Andrade out just yet in her career either. I mean, I feel that Andrade would have won that fight, man, if it had went farther, man. Rose definitely needs to work on keeping her cardio up. I mean, I know it was a long layoff for her, so that could have been a contributing factor as well. And I mean, with the COVID-19, who knows how often she's able to train. I think her husband or her fiance Pat owns a gym, so she should be able to train a lot. But you never know. I mean, it is, and I mean the weight cut could be playing a toll as well. She's a taller girl, so I mean, there's a bunch of different factors that can be going into it. But I think Rose needs to reevaluate a little bit after that fight, even though it was a win, and it's good to celebrate a win. I think there's still some stuff she can learn from that fight, and especially about with her cardio, maybe keeping her distance in the third round, and trying not to get into the firefights if she doesn't have to, because she got into a few firefights tonight that we're not normally used to seeing her get into. Alrighty. Now we are on to the first title fight, the bantamweight title fight between Piotr Jan and Jose Aldo. Jan lived up to the hype, man. He definitely showed the heart of a champion in this fight, and he proved me wrong, man. I thought Jose was gonna be able to put the leg strikes on him and pressure him, man, and really use that low calf kick and really bust him up, kind of similar to what he did with Uriah Faber back in the day. And I was kind of hoping that's what Jose would come out and do, because if you can immobilize a person like that, man, it really makes him hard for them to be able to compete with you. He did so. to add on to that, Jose did come out real strong at the beginning of the fight and did do a very good job immobilizing Jan early with the leg kicks, really making him think about stepping forward with that lead leg. Jan did a lot of stance changes that we don't normally see due to those leg strikes from Jose. So that it obviously had a decent effect on it. But Jose, man, he always gets away from it, man. He always starts well, especially recently. Ever since the Conor fight, man, Jose's just been different, man. Used to be before that he was just a killer, man, an Iron Man. He would just push through everything. But now it seems like Jose's just, I don't know if he's afraid to get hit per se, but he starts with the leg kicks and they're working. And he's doing a really, really good job of continuously beating the leg. And then he gets hit one time and he stops doing it. And I don't get it. His coach Rafael Cordero is a really good coach, but I mean, two of his major champions and him and Barao have fallen off a lot lately. So maybe it's time for a change of scenery for Jose, you know. But who knows? So yeah, I think if Jose would have continued his leg attacks throughout the fight like he did with Uriah Faber, he would have been more successful. However, Jan weathered the storm and was able to get Jose out of there and really showed that he could be the champion of the division. I mean, he did a really good job of just kind of weathering Jose's early storm and then just putting the pressure on him real hard, man, in the third and fourth round. And he gassed Jose out, man, and Jose really, that's what I thought, man. I thought if Jose didn't get him out of there by round 2 or 3, Jose would gas and be put away. And, I mean, I will say this about the stoppage. I feel the stoppage should have been 45 seconds to a minute earlier. Jose was eating shots that he didn't need to eat. Jan was putting it on him. Jose, and I mean, I get the ref was trying to give Jose every chance because Jose deserves it. He's a champion. Let him go out on a shield, but man, that was a little tough to watch at the end there, man. And I feel that Jose's just gonna be kind of a gatekeeper from now on in his career, which is sad to say. But at his, I know he's not very old. I think he's only 33 years old. He's got a lot of miles on the truck, you know. He's been in the fight game a long time, and I feel that I don't think he can make another push for a title. From here though, man, I think Aljamain Sterling gets the next title fight against Piotr Jan. I think Aljo has an advantage. He has a good karate style. He likes to chop the leg as well, and he's a real high class wrestler, and I think that's going to give him an advantage. Jan can wrestle, but I don't think Jan can wrestle the way Aljo can wrestle. I have seen Jan and Cody Garbrandt have been kind of jawing back and forth, but I think Cody needs at least one more win before he gets back to the top. I think Cody needs to fight like a Sanhagen or a Moraes, something like that, before he gets another shot at the title. I think he needs one more win. His last one was good, but we need to see another good performance, and that he won't leave his jaw out there to be taken. And then maybe he'll get back to the title. But I think Aljo takes the title from Jan, honestly, in the next fight. But we'll have to see. All right. So now into the featherweight title fight, we got Alexander Volkanovski versus Max Holloway. This fight was a huge robbery for me, guys. I'm sorry, and I think the judge really screwed us all out of an amazing trilogy fight. Like I thought the first fight was close. I definitely thought Alex won it. This fight I thought was close, but I definitely thought Max won it. It would have been great for us to have a trilogy fight and really find out who the greatest featherweight alive is right now. But the judges robbed us of that by giving the decision to Volkanovski when, honestly, I thought Volkanovski really did lose this fight. I thought Max controlled the center of the octagon. He hurt Volkanovski a bunch. He dropped him in the first and second round. I felt Max took rounds 1 through 3. The third round, Volkanovski did get off a desperation shot, a desperation takedown. But I don't see it as anything significant because he really didn't keep Max down for long, and didn't really do much damage. In rounds 4 and 5, the striking started to even out a little bit. It looks like Max slowed down for the first time I've ever really seen him slow down in his career, and it wasn't a bad slowdown. He still put most people to shame with his cardio, but Max did have a little bit of a slowdown, which was uncharacteristic of Max. I think he lost round 4 and 5 just because he was a little bit, I don't know if to say more tired, but he was a little bit more relaxed on putting the pressure on Volkanovski, and there was a few takedowns in those rounds that Volkanovski was able to get off. Even though they weren't very effective, Max did get up relatively quickly, and he really didn't do much damage from there. Judges count takedowns, sadly, as more sufficient, or almost more important than knockdowns and stuff sometimes. You know, it just all depends on who's judging the fight. In this fight, I thought Max did a much better job at keeping Volkanovski at bay and not letting him damage his legs too much. You didn't see the stance switching like we saw in the first fight. First fight, Max was fighting a lot out of the southpaw that we don't normally see. Max is really good with the orthodox, with the straight left and the straight right. He can switch. He does switch every once in a while in his fights. Always. I mean, he's good both ways, but he's definitely more comfortable orthodox than the first fight. We saw him switch a lot to southpaw because of the leg damage. This fight, we didn't see him go to southpaw hardly at all. Max was comfortable. Max was great. Max was in great shape. Max was really putting the show on. Max showed some good kicks, man, that we haven't seen really. I mean, he dropped him with a head kick in the first round. He was throwing some spinning kicks. It was some real technical stuff there that we weren't really used to as much before, and it looked really good. Volkanovski did fight a really good fight, and he's definitely a championship caliber fighter. We'll give him that. But I didn't think he really hurt Max once. He kind of hit Max with one in the fourth round. It really made Max kind of widen his eyes a little bit. And he got these 2 takedowns that Max immediately popped back up. But, man, he showed that he can wrestle, but I felt like the wrestling was more desperation wrestling. Like, I don't want to be standing on the feet anymore because I'm getting busted up. So let me try and take you down, which, I mean, that's a part of the sport. Wrestling is important. I think wrestling is the most important base you can have for the sport because you can control where the fight happens. Chael Sonnen 101, But the thing is I feel like the takedowns were more, I'm going to try and take you down and hug you to where you don't beat me up anymore. And I'm not going to try and advance my position because I'm scared. I don't think he was really scared. Obviously, he's a professional fighter. He gets in a cage and he fights for a living. He's not afraid of another man. But what I'm saying is I just don't think he wanted to be punished anymore. And so that was his way out. And I feel like we need a rubber match, man. Even though it's 2-0 technically in Volkanovski's favor. I think Dana White and a bunch of the guys even came out and said that they felt that Max won the fight. I would like to see a round 3. I think Max is still the best featherweight in the world, man. And I don't know if we'll get a third one right away. Max might have to go and show up the rest of the division. But I think Max gets back there, and I think, again, I don't know who will win the third fight, but I think we definitely deserve one, man. I think we don't know who the best featherweight in the world is right now. Volkanovski beat Max the first time, and I think Max beat Volkanovski by a larger margin this time than Volkanovski beat him in the first fight. However, judges didn't see it that way, so we may never know. We'll definitely get a third fight eventually, though. These guys are both young. I think Volkanovski's 31, Max is 28. So we still got time. Max will get back there. I just feel that we should have it immediately, but we won't because of the judge's decision. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on that one. And finally, we're at a main event. We have Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal. This is for the welterweight title fight. To my surprise, Jorge actually seemed to look like the bigger person in the octagon for some reason. I don't know if that was just me or if anybody else saw that, but in the first round, I actually throughout the fight, Jorge's an inch shorter, and obviously he walks around lighter. He used to make 55. Kamaru could never make 55. But he looked, I guess it might have been because he didn't have the diet, because he was on 6 days notice. He didn't really get the opportunity to get skinny and then do the weight cut. He kind of did the weight cut, without getting skinny. I mean, he's always skinny, but I mean, he was a little bit heavier than he's normally coming into at fight week, And he looked extremely strong and quick, especially in the first 2 or 3 rounds. I mean, he looked fast. His gas tank failed him later in the fight. I mean, that was expected. He's on 6 days notice. I mean, get the guy a break. Kamaru again proved he's a great champ. Used his strength and his fight IQ. Just push George against the fence. Keep him away. Keep him close to you to where you can't get back and you can catch you on the end of his punches and put you away. And especially in the first few rounds, he tried to do that as best he can. In the first round, I felt Jorge won it. So, I mean, that's one thing. But I think Jorge has a full camp. It's a much better fight for sure. So with Usman wearing him out, Masvidal eventually did slow down, and it was the main reason he couldn't get it done. I feel like, honestly, with the full camp, Masvidal could have possibly beaten Kamaru. I mean, he did a damn good job of defending the takedowns like no one we've really seen before. Kamaru normally gets his hands on you and you're on the floor, And Jorge did a really good job. I mean, he stuffed I think 6 or 7 of them out of the 11 or 12 he shot. I don't remember exactly the numbers, guys, but Jorge did a really good job of keeping Kamaru off of him, and even though he got tired quick, man, he gave him a good fight. Anyways, for the future of the division, I think that Burns will fight Kamaru next, obviously, once he gets cleared from COVID. And who knows when that fight will be. I mean, Kamaru it's been staying active lately, so it might be sooner than we think. But I think Burns is gonna bust up Kamaru, and here's why. I think Burns is a better striker than Kamaru. Burns did a better job striking against Woodley than Kamaru did, even though they both dominated Woodley. Burns did a better job striking against Woodley, and I felt like Woodley was a little bit more motivated against Burns than he was against Kamaru, and Burns really shut him down. Not only that, Burns has been putting people away. Man, Burns has got some hands on him now, and he's a 4-time Jiu-Jitsu world champion, so I don't think Kamaru's going to want to bring him down and go into his world like that. Also, Burns, I think, can take him down, and we've never seen Kamaru on his back, so I don't know how exactly he would react to that. So, yeah, guys, that's my take on all the fights from UFC 251. Sorry, it's not. I mean, it's a little late. There's a lot of research I do and a lot of thinking I do and putting thought into this, before I come up here and present my content to you guys. I really like to lay it out and have it all there for me to make sure that I'm delivering y'all the best opinions and ideas that I can. We're going to try and do most cards. Obviously, there's going to be times where we can't, with me working full-time and Kanan working part-time and in school. There's going to be times where we won't have time to get stuff together for fights and stuff, but we're going to try our best too. We're also going to try and come with things on like fight of the month, stuff like that, like just intermediate videos every once in a while. We'll try to do a video once a week, These videos take time. Recording takes time. Prepping takes time. Figuring out how we're going to do the webcam software for the interview type is going to take time. We're hoping that we can go live once a week and potentially have like Q&A with you guys, or even have like a online FaceTime kind of deal where we go live with a fighter. I know Kanan is real tight with Dustin Poirier and Daniel Cormier. Obviously, those guys would be great to have on the show. Will it happen? Who knows? We may try to get local guys like AJ Fletcher, my buddy James Landry. Jimbo is starting to get into the amateur scene, so he's requested to be on the show, so we might have him on and we can talk fights with him, maybe talk about his upcoming events. We're going to try and have local guys on from Louisiana and Houston area. We're gonna try and just bring as much content as y'all as we can, guys. This is like I said, this is a passion project for us. This is just something we're doing because we enjoy talking fights, and we hope you enjoy talking them too. And like the video, share it to you, like everyone in the group. I'm gonna post it in the Fight Day MMA group. If you're in the group, share it. Send it out, man. Let's get the word out there. Let's let people join our community so we can talk fights and really enjoy the great sport that MMA is. I mean, it's still relatively new. It's only been around 25, 26 years. It started in 1993. It's developed into what it is to now, and I mean, it's just going to be ever growing. And so why not be able to give people another opinion to come to, to look forward to, just to base their opinions on for the fights, So yeah, guys, that'll wrap up episode 2 for us for the Fight Day MMA podcast. I hope you enjoy the show. Like I said, if you like it, drop a like. If you have any questions, drop a comment. We'll be posting updates for videos and stuff on Twitter and Instagram as of now, and fight updates and stuff. Maybe we'll have tweets out about like what we think about a fight as it's going on. Maybe like do scoring and stuff like that. We're still working out all the kinks. Obviously, it's still not even a week old. So yeah, love you guys. Thank y'all for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Oh, also before I go, sorry. If y'all want to see us to do like smaller cards too, we're gonna try and do every small card. But if there's just particular fights that y'all want from certain cards, let us know. And we might not be able to do a whole video on it, but we'll definitely be able to shoot you back our opinion on it. If you're thinking about betting on a fight or something like that, contact me or Kanan, and we'll get back to you. So yeah, again, thank you guys for watching. Y'all have a good one. Peace.